Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're really glad you could join us today. My name is Anna Ketch, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's webinar, Redefining Microsoft 365 Protection for Email and Backup. It's fantastic to have you here with us. This session is brought to you in collaboration with Acronis, and we'll be exploring how the landscape of Microsoft 365 protection is changing, why the old ways aren't cutting it anymore, the risks businesses are facing in the market today, and what you can do to better protect your email and backup data using smarter and more integrated solutions. Coming up today, first I'll kick off things with a brief intro to Cobweb. Then we'll dive into a powerful presentation from our guest speaker from Acronis. And finally, we'll wrap up things with a live Q&A session. So feel free to pop your questions into the chat or the Q&A box at any point during the session. Would love for this to be an interactive session. So jump in with your questions and thoughts whenever they come into your mind. We began our journey over 20 years ago in the UK. We are very passionate about helping businesses succeed in the cloud. Today, we've partnered with over 4,000 businesses across the UK and the Middle East. From cloud solutions to cybersecurity, our focus remains the same: to make technology feel simple, safe, empowering for every business. Our guest speaker today is Oleg Prosvetov. He leads the solution engineering team for Acronis across the Asia Pacific and Middle East regions. He's been with Acronis for over 10 years and has been instrumental in supporting both MSP providers and enterprise software businesses across the globe. Oleg brings a strong background in IT and cybersecurity, and what really stands out is his passion for technology. Over the years, he's contributed to many key Acronis initiatives, always bridging the gap between technical know-how and business strategy. Oleg, you are welcome, and over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Anne. So yes, good day, everyone. So I will also start sharing my screen. Good day, everyone. So thank you very much. And today we're going to do our presentation and a little bit of a demo on regarding how we help protect Microsoft 365 and other environments. And yes, my name is Oleg. I am leading the solutions engineering team in Acronis across Middle East and APAC. And as Anne mentioned, I've been in Acronis for almost 10 years now. I will try to cover as much as I can today, but again, feel free to post your questions into Q&A. We'll address them at the end of this webinar. I will try to answer everything I can. But at the same time, Cobweb, being our trusted partner, would also be there to assist you, to support you as a managed service provider, and we will support them as much as we can as well. So the focus today is on Microsoft 365. So you probably know about it, you're using it. So today it's one of the more popular platforms out there for email, for business applications. It is widespread. It is present in most of the companies worldwide. But of course, being that popular creates issues, as has been with Windows being the most popular platform, now with Microsoft 365 also being the most popular email and collaboration platform. That increases the risks and their exposure. So there are some stats here. Only in 2022, we have seen like 2.5% increase of attacks on Microsoft 365, being that targeting users' email, targeting users' applications, trying to steal their data or trying to ransom the data, take over accounts or other types of attacks. Problem, of course, with email, it is the most widespread tool. A lot of data is stored in email, a lot of communications, and much of that communications is found nowhere else. There are, of course, CRM systems, there are document systems, but day-to-day communication is still email, and a lot of attacks are still coming through email. And what we're seeing as a trend in the market is the more attacks there are on the system, of course, the more protection it needs, and that is being recognized by IT specialists all over the world, security specialists. There are some measures that can be taken for configuring, defining more secure policies, using best practices, etc. But today we are going to address a slightly different topic around email, and that is more about what happens if the attack gets through, if you get compromised. So one fact is Microsoft, as a lot of other cloud vendors out there, has a shared responsibility model. What that means is they have their infrastructure, they have their various services, be that the email service or the storage service or something else, right? Azure, Active Directory that they have, Entra ID, all these different layers of services. There is, of course, their security that they're responsible for. They're responsible for maintaining that these services are on all the time, having maximum uptime. At the same time, they are responsible for the security of these services, so for their data centers, so that they don't get compromised, so that they have all the controls that there are needed for you as their tenant to use those controls. And of course, they have also compliance controls, right? So they follow the best practices, they go through rigorous certifications of their data centers, be that Sarbanes-Oxley or HIPAA or ISO 27001, or whatever is needed locally in each country. But at the same time, there is a presumption from a lot of customers of Microsoft is, okay, so they are providing the security, they are providing the availability of all their services. So my data is safe. Whatever I have, my email, my OneDrive data, Microsoft is going to take care of it. They're going to replicate it, they're going to restore it if needed, but that is actually not how it is. So there is the shared responsibility model, which presumes that you as the customer have your own controls, that you use the provided user and admin controls from Microsoft to configure your own policies, to make sure that everything is secure, to configure two-factor authentication, that you at the same time protect, make backups of your data. So Microsoft will restore their infrastructure, but they don't guarantee that they are going to restore all the email or all the files that you had in SharePoint or OneDrive. So your role in this shared responsibility model is to make sure that you have all the needed protection, and you have all the needed backup and whatever controls are additional to make sure that you reduce your risk exposure. And of course, compliance regulations, they are fulfilling their own compliance regulations, but they cannot fulfill your compliance regulations. So if you have specific needs for storing, let's say, data for X number of months or years, or you have requirements for encryption or whatever it is, it's again your responsibility as the tenant or the whoever is, well, you as the one who's operating this tenant, to make sure that you meet these compliance requirements. Of course, you have the responsibility to your customers to make sure that you meet these compliance requirements. So a bit of kind of going back, but this is important to understand, is why we offer the services that we offer today. So, and that's where we have a platform that offers multiple things, multiple protection services for Microsoft 365. The ones that I'm going to focus on today being backup, email archiving, but this is all integrated into one platform, one console and allows you to protect your services and deploy everything fast with minimal cost and complexity. And it is something that is offered for our partner Cobweb. So the one main solution that I'm going to talk about today is Microsoft 365 backup. Again, I've kind of already went describing why it is needed. So again, it's part of the shared responsibility model, and we provide you with the tools to make sure that you are able to get the job done. So we provide backup services for Microsoft Exchange Online, for OneDrive, for SharePoint, as well as for Teams. And that is done through a cloud service, so where we have our own data centers across the world, including one in UAE, where we can back up the data directly from Microsoft's data center to our data center, so you have an additional copy of the data. In case you get compromised in some way, you are able to restore that data and to access, let's say if it takes time to restore, to access some of the needed files for your day-to-day tasks. And you might be wondering, what could happen to my email? What could happen to my OneDrive? And there's a number of things that can. Of course, one topic that I was just mentioning is malicious actors, right? That could infiltrate somehow, take over controls, find a vulnerability, basically find a way to somehow infiltrate your email, take over an account, and basically start doing damage by deleting emails, by deleting archives, or planting something malicious. That is one thing. But there are other risk factors. There is disgruntled employees that might be leaving the company or planning to leave the company and starting to clean up their email, deleting all the data that they had there, so that it is harder for you to kind of get everything back and maybe establish what they have been doing in the company. Or sometimes it's something accidental with, let's say, an admin of a system running some kind of script that he maybe did not test enough and corrupting some of the data. So these are some of the scenarios that we cover and that allow you to recover from these kind of scenarios. We offer this as part, we offer unlimited cloud storage. So we have per seat licensing for this service. So whatever seats you're protecting, you'll get OneDrive, again, SharePoint, Exchange, and Teams protection. We have adjustable backup frequency. So there are abilities to either doing a standard package where you're doing this once per day, or maybe an advanced package if you want to do it more frequently. Usually the standard for most companies is once per day. That allows to kind of do a balance between cost and efficiency, and it allows you again to recover from unforeseen disruptions, recovering the whole mailbox or just part of a mailbox. We also offer, again, we do take into account that not only Microsoft services can be somehow infiltrated, account takeover can happen. We also understand that our controls also need to be in place. And that's why there is configurations for encryptions. There's a special compliance mode for mandatory encryption. Of course, all the controls for encryption in transit, full audit logs, and as well as actually protection against malicious deletions. So if someone compromises one of your Acronis accounts, we have immutable storage options that even in a worst case scenario, you still are able to recover the data, even if all accounts have been compromised and let's say email has been compromised, backups have been compromised, there's still a backup plan for the backups. At the same time, we offer multiple options to recover. I kind of briefly mentioned this already, but there are controls to recover the whole mailbox to the same mailbox or to another one. Let's say again in a scenario where it's an employee leaving, maybe they deleted all their email, and now you need a copy of their mailbox as a manager and recover the full contents of that mailbox. It can even be recovery to another Microsoft organization. So in case of some kind of merger between two companies where you have two different Microsoft 365 tenants coming together, there is an ability to just do this kind of a soft migration where you're recovering some of the mailbox's data to the new domain, to the new tenant. At the same time, some recoveries might take time depending on the size of archive. Maybe it's a terabyte or something like that, depends on what's a large SharePoint. There's ability to recover individual attachments without doing a full recovery. So again, that gives you flexibility and basically options to do when you are still in recovery mode, but do need the data. And this is an option provided from Acronis. We also integrate with Microsoft's own service that they started offering recently, which is Microsoft Backup, and we integrate with that again from the same console. We use their APIs to do direct backup for Microsoft 365, as we call it. Essentially, if you check Microsoft's service, we recreate that in our console. We back up every 10 minutes to Microsoft storage, not our data centers. In this case, we would use Microsoft's data centers. And this is more useful for if there are more strict compliance requirements, or let's say for the data center certification, or you have more strict needs for fast restoration, because there are limitations on how fast things can be done. If it's moving from one data center to another data center, if it's staying within the same data center, there's less throttling of APIs and the speeds are generally more faster. But both of these options are available depending on your need. Is it a more cost-efficient solution, or it's a more faster solution but maybe more expensive, which is then using direct backup for Microsoft 365, which can be also individually configured for, let's say, some mailboxes might require this kind of backup, another mailbox might require a different type of backup. There's a little bit comparison. We can send probably this presentation as a follow-up for you if you need comparison, why we're offering two different options here. You can see the biggest differences, for example, are in backup frequency, where again, as a more cost-efficient option is up to 6 times per day, where the direct Microsoft option is up to 10 minutes, every 10 minutes. But at the same time, the retention is very different. With the Acronis Microsoft 365 backup, you can set any type of retention that you want. Basically, you can store for a year, for 2 years, for free, whatever is needed. Microsoft Direct Backup, it's limited to 1 year, and that's just the limitation of the service that they're offering today. So there are pros and cons to both approaches. Again, this is up to maybe discussing with Cobweb which option is best for you and which is more towards your budget. At the same time, apart from doing backups, which is more of a disaster recovery solution when things go wrong, there are also compliance requirements. And this is why within the same platform, within the same console, you can also have email archiving, which allows you to meet compliance requirements, do all things really fast, maybe test it out. Is it something that you need or don't need? And basically also be a more cost-efficient solution and following best practice. Email archiving is usually something that is provided by even Microsoft themselves, but they do provide it on the same data centers and under the same accounts, which might not meet your security requirements for isolation of archiving data and storing it in a different location under different set of accounts, under different personnel. And that kind of hits some of the regulatory compliance requirements, be those more global ones or regional ones. Let's say we take GDPR, European regulation, or we take the anti-money laundering laws, right? So which the Central Bank of UAE, and I think there's also the Abu Dhabi bank. There's like, they all kind of work with the same frameworks, and it allows you to store all records for extended amounts of times. Let's say, depending on your industry, being you maybe in the insurance industry, 5 years, being in the finance industry, 7 years. So, or more. Again, I'm not really an expert here on all the regulations for UAE, but again, this is some of the kind of the data that I got, and it does allow you to archive email, allow you to search for that email, store it in a structured way, and provide you audit trails where everything went. The biggest difference between backup and, of course, archiving is that they serve different purposes. Backup is when something goes wrong and you're able to recover the data, where archiving is more for you need independent records which store every single email that happens. So it's a real-time storage. It's a real-time storage of all the records of email, and allows you to search for that email and do cross-references, as well as understand what happened, where did that information go, or who received it, and give you an analysis, or to the auditors that are need to do the investigation. So this was regarding Microsoft 365. As I mentioned, there's backup options, a couple of them. There's the archiving options. But if we talk about backup from Acronis, we also support a number of other platforms. Again, same console, same concept, similar interface for everything, which I'll demo you in a second. So whatever you need to protect it in your local environments, in your cloud environments, those Windows machines, desktops, servers, maybe a Synology NAS, maybe you have some Macs that need protection, or you're running virtualization, that virtualization being on a local platform, or using something like Hyper-V or an Azure virtualization. So a wide range of platforms supported, both for full image backups or file-based backups with flexible retention, with flexible schedules, and being able to configure this within a few clicks, and making sure your data is protected or for your users. We do offer some unique technologies here. One of them is Universal Restore, with the ability to take a backup of almost any machine on any platform, be that a physical machine, be that a virtual server, and then restoring it to another location. So for example, you having today maybe a Dell laptop, let's say, for example, not to advertise them. So, and let's say this laptop fails, and the next your decision is, let's say, to go with Lenovo or with something else. You want to do a full restore there, or be that a server, same situation, going to HP, maybe from Dell to HP, and you want a full recovery to the similar hardware. This is where our technology comes in, where we are able to replace all the needed drivers, the so-called HAL drivers, maybe some networking drivers, disk drivers, RAID controller drivers, etc., and to start working on a new system as fast as possible without the need to reinstall everything. And the same works for virtual platforms. So let's say, again, you have physical hardware today, and then you decide, all right, this server failed. I'm no longer going to use this physical hardware. Now I'm going to transfer this to my VMware installation or Nutanix or Azure deployment in the cloud. That also can be done, and that also Universal Restore will be applied, and you continue running the system on a new platform as if nothing happened. We do have also unique technologies to do instant restorations. This is if you have your own virtual machine environments like Hyper-V or VMware, taking your backups from a local storage and spinning them up almost immediately as a virtual machine, essentially making your office a disaster recovery site, or maybe you have another office right? That is physically separated from the main site and also running virtual environments, ability to immediately spin up the required system and then migrate the data from backup storage to the virtual hypervisor data store as it's already running. Immutability is also something that we offer. Again, I mentioned to you that we have some data centers. So I'll show you some of the locations a bit later. One is in Abu Dhabi in UAE. We offer mutable storage. Right? So in case, again, environment gets compromised, backups get deleted, either intentional or accidental, you always have a backup of a backup. And if storing on our data centers using our cloud storage, you have the ability to recover from the worst case scenario when everything seems to be gone and basically with no way out, but there is still a way out, and that's where immutable backups really help you out. At the same time, our own data centers can also host disaster recovery. So disaster recovery as a service. So that can be an instant spin up. So again, we're taking worst case scenarios. Let's say your office caught fire or your equipment got stolen or something else happened. Basically, you're able to immediately spin up virtual machines within our data centers or use Microsoft Azure. So you can also do orchestration, so backup data to Azure and recover in Azure. So there are multiple ways to use our platform depending on what you prefer, what you want to do, and having a disaster recovery solution in place for you as a service. This is regarding where we have locations today. So as Acronis, we have 54 data centers. 47 of them are completely used, let's say, as our own. So these are co-location services. We are hosting with various co-location providers across the world, but this is our equipment, our hardware, our software, our everything, basically. We're not relying on other third parties for this. But in some regions and countries, let's say, for example, in some US locations or in one of the India locations, we do have a secondary storage that is using a third-party data center like Google Cloud or Azure data center. But in other scenarios, this is our own environments, and we provide these services globally to our clients globally as well. This is where I will jump a bit into my demo. So let me just kind of reset this. So I am myself based out of Singapore, leading the team across, again, APAC and Middle East. And this is why you'll see that the data center that I'm using, the cloud data center, is SG, which stands for Singapore. So I will go ahead and log in. I'll log into the data center to look at my tenant, right, and see what services are available to me. Again, we offer a wide range of services, but today my focus is on backup, and that's where I'm going to focus on today. So the first thing you'll see as I logged in is a number of dashboards that have been configured. These are widget-based, which shows me the status, which I can maybe filter out if I've showing mostly positive statuses here, but if I want, I can actually create other dashboards or filter out by, let's say, I don't want to see okay results. Maybe I want to see if there's some kind of errors that happening. Oh yeah, I see there's an error on one of my servers that the backup failed for some reason. So probably I'll need to check that out, why that is failing. So these can be also used dynamically. So each one of is a link here, so to which I can jump and kind of see what is happening with that specific system. As I mentioned, there are audit logs, there's an alerts that we can see if something is happening, a full list of activities, which I can search through by device names, account names, or by the status, like what kind of event happened here. Maybe someone did a recovery and I want to know about it. There's also real-time notifications for critical events that I can be notified on if some kind of event is happening. But I'm going to go into the Microsoft 365 environment. I do have, just for you to understand what you see here, I have two organizations. One was my old organization that is no longer in use, and one is more fresher ones that I'm using. I still have backups from the old one. If I need, I can recover them. But for today, I am going to go into this section and I'll show you how things work around here. So I could configure individual backup plans for my users. I could create a group, for example. I have a group that is using Azure AD groups or Entra ID groups to filter out certain users by certain parameters, right? So I have them added into the SE demo group on Entra ID. Or if you want to just protect everything, you could just say, yes, I'm going to apply a backup plan to all my users. So for example, this is my main plan for backing up Microsoft mailboxes. And if this is applied to all users, whenever a new user appears here, they will be automatically added and will be automatically protected, and the plan will be applied to them. So what can I do within this plan? Let me just show you. So the options here are kind of can be configured, but some of them are limited because they already been pre-configured. In my case, I have a schedule that is running once per day, and I have a certain retention period, which I can change if I want to. In this case, this is 6 years, and I'm basically going to store all the backups for 6 years. Any archive mailboxes attached to the mailboxes will also be backed up, and I could specify encryption or not. At the same time, we're also going to scan your backups for malware. So whenever the data is protected, even if you missed something with your anti-spam system or anti-malware system, whatever you have, we'll also additionally scan the mailboxes for malware just to make sure that you're not storing anything that is malicious. But that's kind of the configuration. You will need to configure Mail, OneDrive. If you want to back up SharePoint, I'll see all my site collections in this section. So I'll kind of apply, if I do it really easy, a plan here, and in teams and in groups. So they can have different retention periods. They can have slightly different schedules depending on what your requirements are. Other than that, as we go on a day-per-day basis, I could go ahead and start the recovery. So in this case, this user actually only has OneDrive, so I have no filter here. Let me choose a different user. This user does have both, I think, mailbox. Let me actually check a different user. Yeah. So this user both has OneDrive and Microsoft 365 mailboxes. So I could say what kind of mailboxes I want to view. And if you see these kind of green dots on the left, that means this mailbox was scanned for malware and this specific recovery point, and we are confident that this mailbox is free of malware, at least with those definitions that have been used. So this is being regularly backed up. And if I want to recover something from here, I could go ahead and say, what do I want to recover? Do I want to recover entire mailbox, individual email messages, or I want to save this as a PST file? I'll just go into email messages to show you what controls are possible. Again, the recovery points are listed to me again here. I have not encrypted this backup, and I am kind of in a super admin mode right now, so I can see most of the things that are needed. There are special roles like backup operators, which will have limitations on what they can see, as well as if this backup was encrypted with an additional encryption key, I would be requested it once I was opening this archive. But let's say again, in this case, we're doing a bit of shortcuts, and I could go ahead and say, okay, I want to show the content of this email. I am able to do this again because I have all the permissions. If I was a backup operator, I would not be able to see the contents. I would just be able to see the subject, and that's it. It is, of course, best practice if you have really confidential data in your organization to have individual encryption keys. This is especially if you're dealing with sensitive information or you're dealing with really confidential information. This is best practice. But if your email is not encrypted with individual keys, again, any administrator, of course, can potentially view those emails. So in this case, I can recover this email to where do I want to recover it to, and I could choose. I want to recover it back to the same mailbox, to the original location, to a custom location. So whenever we have these tasks of recovery, this can be done. But this is just one email. Of course, if we have a more massive task, let's say we are recovering the whole mailbox, inbox for a specific. Let's say I'm taking this inbox folder and I want to recover that. I will indicate, let's say, presume that Adele is David's manager. And I would say, yes, I want to recover this to the recovered items. So there will be a folder created there under recovered items, which would be inbox. And so Adele would be able to have a copy of all the emails of David, of his inbox. In this case, you view them. Of course, there are ways to delegate mailboxes in Microsoft 365, but this is just kind of for other scenarios when this is not possible or the original data has been deleted for whatever reason. This kind of works the same for all other things. So if we're talking about SharePoint sites and I want to go and recover something from SharePoint, I could go ahead and recover the whole SharePoint site, or I could browse individual files from there, be those folders stored there or assets or whatever it is on that SharePoint site. Same applies to OneDrives and Teams. So there are specific ways how Microsoft stores things. For example, some recordings are stored in OneDrive if you're recording through Teams. So that does need to do a bit of tracking. But for example, from Teams, I could go ahead and recover the entire team, the email messages that belong to this team, or the team site if it has its own SharePoint site associated with that team. And that's kind of the basic steps that you would do if you're doing backup and recovery steps with Microsoft 365. And same principle applies, as I mentioned, this is a all-encompassing platform. It does support backup of various systems, be those Windows, Linux, or Mac systems, or various hypervisors. The steps would be very similar to what I was just showing you. Let's say I'll just show you, for example, so this machine is a VM. I can actually visibly see that it's a VM with an icon. It has an agent deployed on it. Some don't. It depends on the setup that you require. And in this case, I could also do similar protection plans or do similar recoveries where I could go ahead and say, oh, some files have been lost, and this system actually has something that's called CDP, which is continuous data protection, which has a full image backup of the whole system, but at the same time, the documents folder is done real-time backups. So I'm not sure if there's anything specific on, yeah, there's nothing actually on this system on the documents folder. But in any case, I could go ahead and recover individual files, individual folders. And again, same as with Microsoft 365, the interface is kind of unified across the board. I could recover that to the same system. I could recover it to a different system that has an agent deployed, same location, custom location. And I could also do more additional options, like do I want to change the date and time? How do I want to exclude certain files from recovery? Do I want to recover security settings? How do I want to treat the performance, etc., etc. Some of these settings are hidden behind like additional options, but we try to make the interfaces unified and as simple as possible so that it does not take a lot of time to learn the platform and everything works in a unified way. Last part I mentioned to you, so I was mentioning that we have email archiving. This is an option that is different to backup, of course, so the interface is slightly different, but here I am protecting the whole same domain that I have for Microsoft 365, but now I'm archiving in real time all the incoming mails, all the outgoing mails, all the internal emails, basically everything that is coming in, coming out. And here you can see I do have an encryption password, so I am requested for it. And now I can do certain searches. I did send like a few emails just before this call with the keyword confidential displaying. So if I search across all my users, which is not a lot in this demo environment, I could see all the emails that are associated with the word confidential. I could look again through their content, and this gives you an audit trail. Where did this go? What kind of attachments did it have? So for example, here I can see there was a screenshot attachment, and I would be able to save that screenshot and view that screenshot. Recover that email or forward that email if I am kind of doing some mass operations. I can also do additional filters, setting dates, was the email deleted or not deleted. So this is a big difference to the backup in terms of compliance requirements. Backup has fixed times when it's done. So if something slips between those times, the email can be lost. Email archiving does not allow to do that. So even if something is immediately deleted, like literally someone receives it, acknowledges it, forwards it, and then deletes both the inbox and the outbox, still the trail will be there. We will know that happened, and actually we can immediately kind of identify these kind of activities happening in the organization if we are searching for specific keywords or trying to find a specific sender topic or etc. This is some of the functionality. I'm not able to cover everything today. Again, I've mentioned there's disaster recovery as well, with cloud servers running on our data centers, with basically me having things on standby, being able to access the console of these servers immediately from here. So there's a number of functionalities that the platform has. If you would like to know more, this is where our partner Cobweb can help you. And thank you for listening. Thank you for attending. And would be the main contact for you to ask questions. Please reach out. So, and now we go into the Q&A section.
So we would like to hear some interesting questions from the attendees.
Oh, can I show features again of Acronis Backup and Microsoft? Sure, we can do that. Again, I think we'll send this presentation as a follow-up, right? If you are interested to see the exact differences. But I would say the main differences are around the frequency, right? So we do less frequent backups when Microsoft does more frequent one, but we can store backups for much longer when Microsoft's retention is limited to 1 year. These are kind of some of the critical ones. There's also some recovery granularity options which are different, and I would say the speed is also different, and the pricing is also very different. So, but I think for the pricing, Cobweb can help you better there. So to consult you on how much that option would cost versus that option. But again, we'll send the presentation for you, and you'll have that table for your comparison's sake, so you can understand which option might be better for you.
Do you have limitations of the O365 accounts? Like if it has 5,000 plus accounts, then the same solution will work out, or it's how would be the storage? You're gonna be increasing the storage or the plans, or
Uh, so limitations,
and
you
it,
mean
and
the
if the yeah if the company spreads over the continents, where like Asia, then USA and Africa. So if that is a scenario, the where would be the primary storage, and how we are going to store the data? Is there any limitations when there are lots of O365 accounts comes together in place?
Sure. So we don't really have limitations of number of accounts. right? So we do have customers in the world that have like 8,000 accounts. I know I've dealt them personally with 10,000 accounts. So this kind of volume we can support, right, as a platform. As
Okay,
to this,
so actually our company is called Ultra, so we do have 200 subsidiaries over the world. So our primary Auth360 friend is from UK, and if we the Middle East users need to get his data from the servers, from where we are going to get the data. Is it gonna be going to the Acronis hosted in the UK, or from the UAE, and how, so it has
good
the
point.
dependent. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. No, this is something that you can request Cobweb, basically,
Mm.
and they can provision you on any of our data centers across the world. Thank you very much for your, again, attendance, right? Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you, Oleg, so much for the wonderful presentation. And thank you all for taking the time to join us today. We'll be sending out the webinar recording for you to view again at your convenience. And then we will also be reaching out individually to each of you. So please feel free to send us any inquiries or questions. Thank you all for being patient with us. And thank you so much, Oleg, again.
Thank you.
Yeah, and have a lovely evening, everybody.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.